Okay, we are back in Miami. This is Dad's Sport Ball podcast coming to you live. Not live, actually. We're recording this one because we were too scared to do it live.
It's been a while. We're a
Yeah.
little rusty.
Yeah, we're a little rusty. We've been, we have like a dog here and like a cat.
Rebel.
Yeah. We got Rebel over there. Number one sports fan right there. Too bad he's a Knicks fan. Well, oh, no, wait.
Let's go Knicks.
I was pointing to you. The dog, I don't know what the dog roots for.
He's probably a Heat fan.
He's a Heat fan?
He's Wiener's dog, so he's probably a Heat fan.
A father member is what we call him from now on. Father member is unfortunately not with us today. He is on the sandy beaches of Hawaii. So he will be hopefully in the next video.
Big shout out to father member and now lady member who have become engaged.
Yes.
Love is a beautiful thing, and they got engaged in beautiful Hawaii.
Are you practicing your best man speech right now?
I'm thinking about it. I'm nervous. If I'm going to be honest, I was very excited about it now that it's become real. Although he hasn't asked me yet. But, let's be real. It's going to be me. I'm nervous. I'm definitely nervous.
You gotta workshop
Yeah,
that,
sometimes you're on, TikTok or Facebook, whatever, and a best man speech pops up. Normally I'm just blowing by those things, but now I'm like, I got to take notes.
Do your research, dude.
I got to take notes.
Do your research, for sure.
Just don't want to bomb,
You don't want to be, you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that guy. Yeah. No, that's good. You definitely gotta say something about Molly, and be like.
I've got loads to say about Molly.
I don't even know, But yes, so we're back to talk about sports, and there's been a lot happening. Honestly, we've been talking a lot about this stuff. We just haven't had a camera recording us, which is unfortunate.
So since the last episode we did.
I don't even remember what we talked about.
It was probably April that we did it.
Yeah, because we moved to Miami in April, at the end of April.
All three of us moved in together, and on paper that sounded like the perfect situation to feel the podcast. But it turned out that really we were doing the podcast because we wanted to hang out with each other.
Yes.
And then once we started hanging out with each other,
started playing a lot of Smash Bros.
Yeah, we did play a lot of Smash Bros, a lot of Super Mario Strikers.
Yeah.
But the big thing is that we just started having these sports conversations organically because we lived together, and we never had a camera on. And then we talked about it all and didn't want to do an episode or whatever. Anyway, we've been way behind the curve on Dad's Sports Ball podcast.
Honestly, this has been pretty quiet of an off season compared to previous off seasons. For basketball, usually at the beginning of the summer we had Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving,
Rudy Gobert trade.
Yeah, true.
Market,
yeah. But that was early. I mean, that was months ago, and it's been quiet. It's been dead silent.
Getting a lot of the same kind of sounding room, just the same kind of drama over and over again.
Yeah, a lot of Chris Broussard and Rob Parker just yelling about the same crap.
Yeah. So you hear a lot of KD, Kyrie circulation, Donovan Mitchell circulated, all this stuff, and you're like, okay, what's actually happening? And when you check, not that much has happened.
No. I mean, so what happened with KD and Kyrie? So first off, I think Kyrie was first. He was he's on his last year of his deal with the Brooklyn Nets, and basically he was I want a max contract extension, and they're we're not going to give it to you because
you don't show up to work.
Yeah.
Why would you give you that much money if
I mean,
you're not
that's
show up to work?
No, you don't have the vaccine. I think in Toronto you still can't play. At least for baseball, I read that. And basketball next season, I think same thing. So, it's still an issue. And
I'll just add very quickly, even before the vaccine issues, Kyrie Irving has historically a problem with showing up to work. So even before this huge controversy of him not getting vaccinated and missing a whole slate of games because of that, he already had this as a reputation. So not looking too hot for the fatty extension on his part. Especially also considering the lack of success that the Nets have seen since they've tried to put together this team.
Yeah, exactly. And so basically, yeah, Kyrie Irving and the Nets front office had this disagreement about, contracts and everything. And then there was a bunch of talk about Lakers wanting Kyrie and all this different stuff. And then, I don't know, like maybe a week later, KD comes out and is like, I want out of here. And we've heard a lot of different things, not necessarily out of like KD's mouth directly, but like people, like different like reporters saying different things, like what KD's saying. Like he doesn't, he wants basically the GM and Steve Nash, the coach, fired if he's going to stay around, but basically the owner was like, I support the front office and the coaching staff. So
I think it's a strong arm move of like him. He's deflecting blame, saying these are the issues, so it's either them or me, which all but as long as the owners are standing with the front office, all but guarantees the fact that he'll get traded or he'll sit out until he gets traded.
yeah, I mean, I'm looking here at different headlines. Oh, they won't allow whatever. But this one says KD wants to play for the Celtics or 76ers. I don't know how the 76ers would get KD. So basically that's where we're at. We're at like a bunch of speculation, and Kyrie says like, I still want to play this season out with the Nets, but it's not up to him because the Nets probably want something back for Kyrie. So the Lakers have, I think, now upped their offer to 2 first-round picks for Kyrie, along with other pieces. And then
I still, by the way, just as a tangent, if the Lakers' goal is to win this next year,
yeah,
which arguably it should be, I like the Russ Kyrie trade straight up. I think that betters both teams in a big way.
you think so?
Yeah, I know that that's a bit of a hot take in some circles, but
Yeah.
I think that you get the reliability of a guy who's going to play, who's still a big name in Brooklyn, and then on the other side you get the chemistry that Kyrie and LeBron clearly have for a short stint that is a championship run. And
Yeah.
I think that helps both teams. I don't think that they're going to do it, but I would think that would be a smart move to make.
No, I mean, that's fair. I mean, I think what the Nets are looking for, they want two first round draft picks plus probably like Talen Horton-Tucker, who's like a young piece on the Lakers. Maybe even Austin Reeves, who's like a good 3-and-D young player. And Lakers, I think, want, from my understanding, not only Kyrie but Seth Curry as well. Maybe even Joe Harris. So, I'll bet before the season there'll be a trade that's done. But I think that the Nets are more focused on Kevin Durant. They want him there still. Kevin Durant just like really is reiterated that he doesn't want to be there.
I think he's entitled and being a bit of a child about this because they just took this franchise in the Brooklyn Nets that had all of this ammo, and they went all out on this Kyrie and Kevin Durant thing in the same way that Kevin Durant and Kyrie are like, okay, we're doing this, we're going to the Nets, and then it didn't pan out, and instead of dealing with any kind of adversity, Kevin Durant is like, I need a better team. I want to go to the Celtics. Yeah. The guys who almost won this last season.
Celtics,
like
Phoenix.
That's the team I want to be. It's the same story that happened with the Warriors when he lost in OKC.
Yeah.
And not to say it's all on Kevin Durant. I think the perspective of James Harden there was also awful, and Kyrie it's also a mess. Like, the whole situation fell apart, but to be Kevin Durant and go somewhere with like a plan in mind and then have it fall apart and immediately be like, I'm out. Like, I want I want to be on that team. That's the best
It's
team in the
definitely
East.
like a knock on his legacy,
Yeah.
I would say. Like most people besides Skip Bayless is like this is just like a I don't yeah, like just such a weak move. I mean,
Yeah.
player empowerment is great to like say where you want to go, but I don't even think Kevin Durant knows where he wants to go. Like he just knows where he doesn't want to be and like yeah, and he picks all these like powerhouse teams like Phoenix, Boston to as his destination. And honestly, it's been really interesting seeing how like the market for him is like pretty stale right now. Like not a lot of teams are stepping up with what the Nets want. The Nets want like 4 or 5 first round picks and like a current all-star and other pieces. I don't think they're gonna get that. And
It's a really steep price.
Yeah.
But it's also arguably the best basketball player in the NBA. I think that at a lot of different times, people would be willing to shell that out. I think arguably the biggest reason why people aren't is because of the team dynamic issues that Kevin Durant has posed throughout his entire career. Because otherwise, there are a lot of teams that maybe are to some degree mortgaging a future by shelling out that much.
Yeah.
But they're getting Kevin Durant.
No, I
franchise
agree.
Player,
I
best
think
player
the
in
other
NBA.
hard thing is with Ben the way so there's a contractual issue with where Ben Simmons because he's still in his rookie deal or got an extension. They can't trade for a lot of like really young all-stars.
Yeah.
Like they can't get I'm trying to think of who they're talking about. They can't get like Zion. You can't get
Donovan Mitchell,
Bam, like Jason Tatum. You can't get like a lot of these players unless you get rid of Ben Simmons, who's having very similar issues to Kyrie and Kevin Durant.
One's picking up Ben Simmons.
Yeah, because he's having like mental issues that were like giving him back problems and all this different stuff. And then before that happened, before that, he was just holding out because the 76ers, he just was not a fan, I guess.
It's all these team dynamic.
Well, he missed that layup, remember? Or he passed up the layup 2 years ago against the Hawks.
It's just been so long since we've seen him play consistently.
I just think the Nets. If I were the Nets right now, I'd look at my 3 stars. I'd look at Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons, and I'd be like,
let's go.
That's a bunch of great talent. Yeah. But you know what they need? They need like a counselor or some like they don't need better pieces around them. They need like a therapist, dude.
They need some veteran who's just gonna kick them into shape.
Like sports psychologist or veteran to just come in and be like, guys, like we could easily win with that team. They picked up who did they get from the Jazz? They like spent a first round pick to trade
Royce O'Neal. Then they've got these shooters. They've got Seth Curry and
Joe Harris.
Like they've got a squad and a half, and all of the drama is surrounding where do these players want to go to.
Yeah.
Like if any of them were serious about what they originally went to Brooklyn for, they would be like, let's just like buckle down and make this shit happen. But they're all too egotistical drama queens.
Yeah, I think another issue with Kevin Durant, I don't think he really wanted to go to Brooklyn.
No, he went because Kyrie went.
Exactly. Like I think he that like whatever was 3 years now or 4 years ago when they both decided to go to Brooklyn. So Kyrie has family and is from Brooklyn. But I think from what I keep on hearing is like KD wanted to go to the Knicks actually, because like the Knicks more prestigious.
I would have loved that.
Like Madison Square Garden. I mean, you just like all of it. You have Hollywood stars on the sidelines. So I think Kevin's thinking like, wow, like I don't even care about the Nets. Like honestly, I don't think he cares about the Nets like
Right,
at all.
he's regretting his decision to go there.
Exactly. Yes, and he's like, Kyrie's not even playing. This
James Harden left.
James Harden left. The front office just like is. I think, yeah, I think I don't. That's the one thing about I would be so cautious about Kevin Durant is like I don't even think he knows what he wants. You know.
I think you're right. And I don't think he is. Like you take LeBron. LeBron's the type of guy who can go somewhere to make a move, like in terms of I'm going to this place, and then lose and be like, okay, we're buckling down. We're not going to lose again. Like, I'm going to get this shit together and we're going to pull it together. And Kevin Durant is not that guy. He's like, this isn't going exactly how I wanted it to go. I want to go join the Celtics.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous.
No, I totally agree. I just and personally, like I don't like Kevin Durant got Finals MVP both times he won with the Warriors, but I still like think that team was so loaded. Like that wasn't.
Yeah.
I thought that was the whole reason for him to go to Brooklyn was like he's putting together a team, like he's putting together the A team, and they're gonna go like mess
Steph Curry
shit up.
has now won without him.
Yeah.
Which says a lot.
Yes.
And Brooklyn was supposed to be Kevin Durant.
Steph won before him too.
Well,
like,
true.
Yeah, they were a 70 2
3 I think. Yeah. But
team.
The Nets was supposed to be Kevin Durant's response to the criticism he got for going to the Warriors.
Yes.
I left OKC to join the team that beat me. That was the best team in the West, and I got 2 championships out of it. Now it's my turn to like build a franchise ground up around me.
Yeah.
And what is the most annoying part about it is that they have the tools right now for that to still be the case.
Yeah.
And because it hasn't gone perfectly, he's like, I want out. But like we talked about the roster, like they have what it takes to beat the Celtics.
No,
like,
I agree.
It'd be a hell of a series, and maybe I'd probably put money on the Celtics to win it, but they could easily take the West or the East.
Yeah.
As a contender.
No, I think so too. It's just at this point, it seems like so many things would have to go right, like so many minds would have to be changed. I also just think Kevin Durant is just not really like a leader. Like he's an amazing basketball player. He's just not a very good leader, and I don't think he wants to be.
Or teammate even. You can argue.
Yeah.
It's hard to say we're not in the locker room, but just out of his track record.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like players like him. I think like him and Kyrie are still buds, and like same with James Harden. But it's hard to tell. I just think that like you look at like LeBron, Steph, I'm trying to think of like who's another good leader, like Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Buckets, yeah, absolutely.
Like who can just get everyone together and be like, hey, like we're
doing this.
We're doing this. And I think, I think that's what Katie needs, which is tough because like Kyrie was almost the like de facto leader of the Nets because that's where he wanted to go. He basically, I think, just told Kevin like, let's go to the Nets, and so like. Kevin's like, let me just follow you, Like
it's brutal for him too because his criticism was always, I don't want to be Robin, I want to be Batman. I don't want to be Robin to LeBron's Batman in Cleveland. Yeah. And again, now he has the opportunity to be Batman and doesn't play.
Yeah, I think he'll just be one of those people who is just never like the grass is always greener for him. Like he just wants to like find a new experience. And him do him. I do have to say though, the next collective bargaining agreement in the NBA between the players union and the owners is gonna be hell probably because Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, all these players who just like basically force James Harden forcing their way out of contracts and teams and in cities like.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's gonna be.
It'll be pivotal.
They're
pivotal
gonna
in
yeah.
some way. Yeah.
They're gonna lose some money. They're gonna be like, if you're gonna demand a trade, you're probably gonna be losing some money.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, we were watching some talk show or whatever, and they talked about the precedent of Kevin Durant specifically calling out the coach and the owner, and saying like it's either me or them.
Yeah.
And like that's like never happened. Like they brought up one example. I don't remember who.
Yeah,
they were saying,
I'm trying to think.
Who a player specifically went to a coach and told. Oh, it was Dwight Howard. Told his coach, like, I think you should be fired.
Oh, was it
coach,
Stan Van Gundy? Maybe?
Yes, no, it was. And the coach then publicized the fact that Dwight Howard had said that, but it wasn't like Dwight Howard just went to the media and was like, I think my coach should be gone. You know, like
yeah.
I don't think that there are that many precedents for people being like,
well, coach
it's either
and
me or
GM
them,
and
you
yeah.
know, like
no, I don't, and I just don't think he actually wants to be.
GM,
Like, I don't think he wants to be. Well, one thing is like the hiring of Steve Nash was weird. Was a weird move.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, no, I just even if they got rid of Steve Nash and the GM, like I don't think like Sean Marks, I think is the GM. I don't think Kevin Durant, even if that happened, would still like be happy. I don't know. I don't know what motivates Kevin Durant. I think that's what most people are having trouble with, like trying to figure out. You know, like most. You know, like people now are like, well, why don't you stay at Golden State? Like, if you're just trying to like get another ring, like have a nice system that's set up, like all that stuff. And I just like Phoenix is not trading for Kevin Durant. They do not have. They would have to give up like Devin Booker.
They won't do it.
They won't do that. Or like they're
Chris
not.
Paul,
But the Nets aren't going to take Chris
players.
Paul as like.
Yeah, probably not.
And so all I've really heard tenable is like. Probably Celtics like trade sounds like Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, Jaylen Brown, and then multiple first round picks.
I personally think that it would be foolish for the Celtics to do that.
You think so?
I think so because Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
best basketball player in the league, arguably. You have him on your team, and you're a contender. Almost no matter what. Like, I would have said no matter what, except for how the Nets really played this last season.
Yeah,
I don't think that they really...
I mean, in the playoffs, they did have, this past postseason, they did have Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. It's not like like Kyrie wasn't playing. He was playing.
And they got swept.
Yeah.
So I would typically say if you got Kevin Durant, you're a contender. Now, maybe less so. And I just think the Celtics would have to mortgage so much value in order to get Kevin Durant when they're already the top contender in the East and have made offseason moves to make their team better this offseason. So they were like they were on the doorstep to a championship.
Yeah.
And this offseason they've made moves to make their team better. I think you run with what you're working with. You don't risk any of the locker room bullshit. So. You don't leverage any of your young guys.
Yeah.
I think the Celtics don't mess with your recipe. You've got it's working right now.
Yeah, no, I hear you for sure. I do think if Milwaukee is healthy, they're going to come back with fiery vengeance. But I don't know, it's tough. I mean, it sounds like it would have to be Marcus Smart, like Jaylen Brown, maybe Robert Woods, maybe Grant Williams, and then first round picks.
But okay, so would you take Tatum and KD, or Brogdon, Tatum and KD, or Smart, Brogdon, Tatum, Brown, Williams?
I don't know, man. Tatum,
Brogdon and
KD sounds like offensively, I don't know I don't know. I guess personally, I'm not like super high on Marcus Smart. I think he's a great player. Very.
This last postseason made me drop off on him a bit.
Yeah, I mean he
wasn't
got
able to put it
defensive.
together.
No, not really. And like he's not like a true point guard. He doesn't like set up the offense really. And
His
stuff.
shooting percentage was really bad. His deep shooting percentage was really bad.
Yeah, I almost think I think if you can get away with only trading Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and then either Robert Williams, and then first round picks, dude, I don't know. I would like give that a long think, man. I would probably do it honestly.
Then is Derek White still there? So then you're running.
I think you have like
Brogdon, Derek White,
KD.
Tatum.
You still have Al Horford.
Yeah.
You know,
that's a squad. Yeah, there's something there. That's for sure.
There, like that might get you over the hump. In the loss in the finals. That maybe that's just what they need is someone to just go get a bucket. You know,
right? Because Tatum hasn't been. Yeah, I mean, like him and Jaylen Brown have traded off. Like one of them's on and the other's off. Yeah.
But in the finals, both of them were just not like they were both like kind of on, but not like fully. Not when they needed a bucket. Like they couldn't like just go.
You're right.
Like Steph would just go get the Warriors a bucket in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. My gut instinct is like it's such a well-rounded built team right now.
No, I agree.
Why mortgage all of that for a guy? But it's really hard to argue with Brogdon, Tatum, and KD. That's a tough.
I just think like KD will help you against those other power hitters like Steph, like Giannis, like when those guys are on and just just getting buckets. You just need another bucket getter. Sometimes because you just on defense, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just have to match bucket for bucket. So I mean we'll see. There's been rumors all along, like all this summer, and KD just had a meeting with Josiah, the Nets owner. So, and he basically reiterated like, I don't want to be here, trade me. And I mean, training camp's not too far away. I think it starts like probably September and October. You got preseason, and then you have regular season.
Camp's gotta be starting real soon.
Yeah, so. Is KD the type of player that's going to hold out and just not show up? That I think is everyone's waiting and seeing. I would say probably I think he doesn't show up.
I think you're right, which is brutal because when you've got Kyrie, KD, and Ben Simmons along with a whole roster of really solid role players, it's just a disservice to the situation he has. Like it's grass is greener type thing. He's only looking at what's the best case scenario and doesn't look at what he's got right now. If you get to the end of the postseason where you're gearing up for next season and you haven't been able to manipulate your way into a trade by threatening that this ultimatum of it's the coach and the GM, they got to go or I'm going, you have to fucking sack up and say, okay, these are the cards I have, let's play. That would be the respectable thing to do. Because it's not like you have awful cards. They are fine cards. They're good cards. And you're like, oh, but it's not, suited face cards.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's tough now. I mean, nowadays, like, you just see more and more, like, sports. I mean, not as much in the NFL and like MLB, but definitely in the NBA, you see more trouble with like star players, just like attitudes, like or holding out rather than even just injury, like. So I mean that's another thing, like, recruiters and GMs, all these different front office managers need to look at is like, is this guy, and I'm sure that's what other people are thinking about Kyrie and KD, like because the Nets are trying to trade him. Like if I'm the Nets, I'm definitely trying to get as much as I can, but I don't think teams are like, wow, I'm gonna get rid of all these young players, potential players, like role players.
If you look at this guy and you're like, look at the cards he has, and he wants out.
Yeah.
You're like, if
what
I
is
make
that
a
team?
move for him,
Yeah.
and let's say we put him on a team with two all-stars, one of them goes down. Now is the situation entirely ruined and he wants out next year? Like, that's not an investment I want to make as a GM of a team.
No, because also, like, what people have been saying, which is super fair, is like, after you trade all that stuff, yeah, what do you have left that's better than Brooklyn has to offer? You know what I mean? Like what are the Sacramento Kings going to trade away, De'Aaron Fox and a bunch of young players just to have Kevin Durant be unhappy in Sacramento? So what? There's just, like, the bad teams really don't have an incentive.
Right. If you don't win that next season after you get him, is he going to want out again?
Yeah, exactly. And the good teams don't have enough to trade for him, so it's like this weird spot where I think the Heat really want him, but it sounds like the Nets want a haul. They want. I don't even think they can trade Bam because of Ben Simmons. Mm-hmm. So they want everyone else to basically. So, Celtics. It sounds like the Pelicans might have the best offer to. They can trade Brandon Ingram.
They've got a lot of assets. Yeah.
They got a lot of young players: Larry Nance Jr., Herb Jones. They have.
The Sixers have a decent bit of young players they could throw that way.
Oh,
too.
Definitely. Here's the kicker is, do they want to part ways with a bunch of assets, plus I think the big one is Maxey.
Yeah, you're right.
Because I think they're really high on that kid.
They are, but he's also not Kevin Durant.
No, he's definitely not.
But I don't think you take that risk. If you're any of those franchises, I don't think you take the risk.
Yeah, I just feel like you have James Harden already, who's a little bit of a headache.
Washed.
Yeah, and they obviously James Harden and Kevin Durant didn't really work out in Brooklyn. So
if I had to put money down, I don't think anything happens. I think it gets to the point where he's holding out.
And then really, yeah.
And then I bet he ends up playing.
Yeah, I think he sits out training camp and then plays season. Yeah. Honestly, maybe sits out a few games. I guess it's gonna come down to Durant. I mean, Durant has plenty of money, so that's not an issue. I think it's more of pride and his the way he's presenting himself to the league. But I don't know. In today's NBA, players have done that before, so I'd be interested to see. He's got 3 or 4 years left on his contract. Looks like he's got 4.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of money he's owed. 44, 47, 51, 54. So, man, I feel so bad for the Nets.
Dude, they dropped the bag so hard. When you talk about how they have Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and then Ben Simmons, and none of those 4 guys is working out. None of them is working.
I mean, when they got James Harden, when I couldn't believe the Rockets.
People thought it wasn't going to be fair. People were this is a super team like no other. It's not going to be fair.
You could easily say that the reason the Lakers traded for fucking Russell Westbrook was because they looked at the Nets and were like, wow, look at that.
100%, and look how that worked out for them.
No, I mean, it goes to show you,
yes.
People, you need to have a system, and you need to have people in the front office, coaching staff, to preach that, and then you have to get players to buy in. It's not enough to just, be Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, James Harden. We'll throw you all together, put Steve Nash to coach them. That's just not enough.
I think it's good for basketball that the Lakers lost this season and the Nets have done bad.
I agree.
Because I think that 2 years ago, there was this uproar against super teams of LeBron's doing this, Kevin Durant and Kyrie are doing this. Like, it's going to be the Lakers versus the Nets, and nothing's fair, and nobody else is going to compete.
Yeah.
And then both of those things crumpled so hard that now I think you put 3 superstars on a team, and people are not going to be so quick to say, hey, this isn't fair. They're going to be like, all right, let's see how the locker room pans out with these 3 egos.
Yeah, no, and I remember, when James Harden was first got to the Nets. Like, the Nets traded for him and gave up good pieces, man. Like, they gave up Jared Allen and who's that other guy? I like him too. I think he's on the Pacers, or maybe he's back on the Cavs now. You know what I'm talking about. He was on the Nets. He was their whatever. Doesn't matter. But I just feel honestly, the cap, the luxury tax and the salary cap, really killed the Lakers and the Nets, which was good. That worked very well, because that's the whole problem with Russ's contract. Was Russ is making more than AD and LeBron.
He's the highest paid guy in the team.
And you have those 3 heavy contracts basically taking up 3/4 of your salary cap. Lakers couldn't get anyone. They literally could not afford good role players. And they just, as much as Russ was bad, and he was, they also just were giving Austin Reeves a 2nd-round draft pick. This white kid just looks like he shouldn't even be on the court. Just gave him so much playing time, because that's their most their best role player.
So I completely agree in terms of the Lakers, but looking at the Nets, they have a lot of really good role players.
Kind of. I think what they got a lot of old wash dudes. They had Blake Griffin starting at the beginning.
Sure. DeAndre
Jordan. They have who's the guy from the Spurs? LaMarcus Aldridge. Yeah. Patty Mills, all those guys are, all those guys are all those guys are basketball geezers. They're.
But sometimes that makes a difference in the playoffs, where you have those veterans.
But that's the problem. Is the Lakers did the same thing. They got Carmelo Anthony, they got Dwight Howard, they got all these old dudes, and a Trevor Ariza, all these in their maybe later prime. They were great. Trevor Ariza was great for the Rockets. And Carmelo Anthony played a great role on the Blazers. But when you're trying to keep up with younger teams, they lost to the OKC Thunder 2 or 3 times.
That's embarrassing.
Which was because they were a terrible team. But they were just, I think they were just outpaced. They were just out hustled, just because you had Carmelo Anthony trying to lock down the paint, you just can't.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. You need a balance.
Yeah, look at the Celtics, look at the Warriors, man. Great young supporting cast.
Well, but also the balance of the vets with the young supporting cast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's where I think almost Boston could use more vets.
Yeah.
I think
I'll give some decent bit of experience, but you're right.
They could use a really good, a
Jay Crowder.
Yeah, a Jay Crowder. I'm trying to think who else. I mean that's where I almost think, man. So you give up Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and you get Kevin Durant, who's been there, done that, can get a bucket in crunch time.
Yeah.
I almost think that's kind of what they need.
Could be.
They were great. I mean, the talent was there. I just think they were just too young for the.
I completely agree.
The moment.
The thing is that if I take this postseason, if they had Malcolm Brogdon, I think they probably would have won.
I still don't think they beat the Warriors, honestly.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think Malcolm Brogdon provides that little extra push.
Marcus Smart was just such a big hole for them when it came to that series.
He was, but I don't know. I mean, Malcolm Brogdon has averaged. I think he averaged one season 20, 22 points, but that's gonna go down. Like he's not gonna be like a number 1 or
He's
2
gonna be
option.
the guy, but as long as you have to respect the guy who's bringing the ball up as
Yeah.
the guy, that opens up the court for Tatum and Brown so much.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think that pressure, because Malcolm Brogdon's also young. It's not
Super young.
like
Super
he
young.
is like I think he's probably younger than Jaylen Brown, or I don't know, same age.
He's young.
So it's not like he's a wily vet
He's
coming
not-
in
no, no,
like
no, he's not
coming in like locking, making sure their teams. You know.
No, you're absolutely right. But I think he may have been the difference maker this season,
Possibly,
which is why
yeah.
that like it's hard to look at your team and say, okay, we can take the same team plus a little bit, or we can rehaul the entire team to make a change for KD, which a lot of people would argue is a better team.
Yeah.
But we're messing up the entire formula that we've built that we know works enough to get you there.
Well, so I guess that's where the Celtics have to look. Front office has to look at their system and be like, is our system strong enough to where it's not necessarily about the players? Well, it is about the players, but it's more about the culture.
Yeah.
Because that's what the Warriors have.
Absolutely.
Like they could bring in anyone. They can bring in Andrew Wiggins, who's gotten just shit on by everyone.
No, even take some of the younger guys, like the even less prominent people on the rosters. I think the Warriors, out of any other franchise, have done one of the best jobs of turning a player.
They brought in KD and they had to give up. I mean, not a ton, but they lost a good bit. Like
No, but I think the Warriors culture does one of the best jobs in the entire.
Well, that's
league
what I'm
of
saying.
Cultivating people
Yes.
who are non-factors
Totally.
finding their role.
Totally. And I hate, I hate the Celtics, but I will say, like, I think Brad Stevens, and their coach, he was really good this year. Udoka, yeah, Ime Udoka, both really strong presences, really good culture setters. I think like similar to Miami, the Heat, I think the culture would be able to withstand any drama.
Yeah,
Maybe, but it is a risk, like that, like you said. It's not without risk, like for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, we were gonna talk about the NFL, but
It's been a minute.
it's been a minute. We were like a little bit worried we weren't be able to.
Yeah, we could do a quick
predictions, or
shout
maybe
out.
just
Well,
like
no, I was gonna say we could give a quick shout out to the NFL for appealing the Deshaun Watson ruling.
yes.
and doing
If
what
people don't
all
know,
of us really think should have happened in terms of the third-party judge ruling that Deshaun Watson should get a 6-game suspension after having something on the order of 24
I mean, maybe I think
sexual
maybe
assault
more,
allegations against him by masseuses.
Yeah, and he got like 60-something massages in like a half a year or something, like really weird. Like it was just like
It's
different ones, not like, because it
Right.
would be okay if, I mean, it would be different if it was just like he got a bunch of massages, but he was just flying random
right.
people, different ones.
That judge ruled 6-game suspension after all of and to be clear, no criminal charges.
No, I mean they went
for
to
any of these
multiple courts. I
allegations.
think
It did.
but the prosecution didn't want to
The prosecution said there wasn't enough evidence to indict him.
Yeah,
because basically it's he said, she said.
Yeah.
But when you've got 24 women coming forward saying, "Hey, this guy exposed himself towards me in an aggressive way while I was doing my job."
Yeah, see that I find odd. I mean, this is a whole another tangent which we can go on. I think a lot of those he said, she said cases, it just doesn't work. Like the structure of our judicial system doesn't really work for trying those. Yeah. Not that I'm saying we should just like not try fairly, but I just think like there's something to be said where it seems like a lot of these just don't even end up. Most of them get settled in civil court. That's
Yeah.
I mean that's just because it there is a little bit of a different structure there. So
Yeah.
I mean,
so,
he's settled. I think he's settled with almost all of them now. Like they were taking him to civil court, and he settled with most of them.
I think there's a couple of them. I don't know. Okay, I don't know.
I think there's two or three women left still had that are trying to sue him.
Right. So if you're the NFL and you're like, okay, this guy's effectively settling with these women to get rid of this lawsuit, and we have this third-party judge who's saying 6-game suspension, which is basically a third of a season. When you have guys like Calvin Ridley, who put $20 on a game on some betting app.
I think on the game. So he wasn't on the team. I think he was hurt or something that season. He was at home, whatever. Just put like $20 for them to win
what's the casino here? The guitar one?
The Hard Rock?
Yeah. It was like the Hard Rock betting app or something like that. He put like $20 on it. This is a guy who's on a multi-million-dollar contract. He got banned for like a full year, right? Suspended for a full year.
No, I mean maybe even more, but I think. And then there was, a while back. 5-6 years. Who was it that got suspended for more than a season for? Like got tested positive for smoking weed, Josh Gordon.
Yeah, no, well, in multiple seasons because it was multiple charges, like multiple failed drug tests.
Yeah,
which is like it's like okay, like I get that our country and the NFL has a history of not wanting people to smoke pot, sure, but at the end of the day. That he's not harming anybody but himself in that regard. Whereas this situation with Deshaun Watson, he's harming other people.
I would see if it was the team, if the team had a policy of being like, we were paying you guys, we don't want you to be doing. I'm going to take it further. Like, we don't want you smoking crack or.
But I think that's
doing hard drugs.
That's the sentiment of what that clause is based on, which I would be okay with if anybody who did anything that harmed someone else was punished way more.
No,
that to me, it's like the punishment doesn't fit the crime.
No, I totally.
You can be strict on pot if you really want to.
Yeah.
I think it's silly. I think the data says it's silly. But if you really want to be really strict about that and punish people, sure. But anybody who's harming another human being in any capacity. Should be punished way more than that. And I will say, me being someone who never would really think highly of the NFL to deal with a situation like this. The NFL has a really bad history of being lenient with people who have had
Ben Roethlisberger.
Crimes against women and other human beings, and I wouldn't have, when this lenient judge ruling came out, I may have said, oh, the NFL's going to run with this because they'd rather Deshaun Watson play. And I, for once, am stoked with the fact that the NFL has come out and said, hang on, that doesn't sound like a lot. I mean, sure, they took cue from the public outcry.
I was about to say, shout out to everyone on Twitter, all the many, many, women's advocates groups, literally, the reason that I think 5 years ago, the league office wouldn't have been we're absolved, we got a third party, we're it's not about us. So
exactly.
But no, I think everyone's been voicing that this is that they think this is bullshit.
So even though it was the most easy thing for them to do because the public opinion was there. Hats off to the NFL for appealing the decision and saying, hey, we are appealing for an indefinite suspension because this guy's clearly a garbage human being.
No, I think it's just a lot of people are insiders and a lot of just NFL analysts are just wondering why the league structured it like this, where they're we're gonna have a third party judge come in, make a ruling, but we still can have the leniency to make an appeal and all this stuff. So I think they're trying. The NFL's trying to walk this line of being like, we're a changed organization. Like, we're not going to, you know, we're not gonna just allow people to shit on Colin Kaepernick or whatever. Like the many social causes that I guess were some players or even just fans watching the game are trying to make, even if it's against other players. You know,
Yeah.
I I'm disappointed in the NFL players union because they're basically backing Deshaun Watson. From what I've heard, the players union in the NFL is just not very strong. Um, don't have a lot of negotiating power, and really just it's just kind of like a, you know, blind, you know, blind following the blind a little bit with their player accountability. But to the point, I have heard this is Players Association is basically saying, well, look at these owners who've done terrible things. Like look at Dan Schneider, the owner of the Commanders, used to be Redskins, probably for way too long. I mean, that name is the Redskins isn't the worst thing that he's done. Apparently, they did an internal investigation, found all this stuff, and they just didn't want to release a lot of what they found. But apparently, it was just a lot of harassment. You know, just harassing employees, misogynistic,
Hopefully,
all this stuff.
Like, if the justification for not pursuing it is that people in a higher esteemed position are perpetrating the exact same thing, hopefully it's the beginning of the process of climbing that ladder.
I hope so.
To then indicting those people for their malfeasance. You know, the worst excuse that you can make for an employee is, oh, but the boss does it too. You know, like
exactly.
That's not a recipe for a good organization.
And it even that's, you know, I think the problem is it was high up even all the way to the owner, you know, and that's
right. Yeah.
That's I think that's something that we've talked about before on this show is like how do you hold owners accountable in all these leagues? Because owners are basically, you know, the league office only has so much power. Like it's the owners that own these teams that are bringing them money and driving revenue, profits, paying for everything. And so how do you make it more of a vetted system, a vetted group of individuals who get the prestigious honor of owning an MLB, an NBA, or NFL team,
and,
you
and
know?
holding each other accountable.
Yeah,
I think that's the right now. It's a boys' club of old white dudes who protect each other.
Yeah,
and the more diversity and inclusion you can get, and the more
that's
more
true.
like social media and information that's out there about what these people are doing, I think we maybe progress slowly towards a more an environment that holds owners more accountable.
No, totally, and I don't see anything like I only see positives with owners that are liked, respectable. You know, not only within the clubhouse with the players, but also with fans. You know, like I think fans would take pride in knowing that their owner isn't a piece of shit or doing all this crappy stuff and is a good person who's paying their employees, all this different stuff. I think hopefully, some of the other owners are being like, this guy is...
he makes us look bad.
Yeah.
Get him out.
Hold them to higher standards,
exactly.
You know? Hold each other. I mean, you know, there's only so much the league office is going to be able to do, you know, without the approval of the other owners, no matter what league it is. So, yeah, I guess we'll hear. We haven't heard yet about the appeal for Deshaun Watson. I think, from my understanding, is they're trying to do indefinite, which is like a season or longer. But I did see a notification on Bleacher Report. Deshaun's gonna play in the preseason game coming up.
Awkward. That's awkward.
But no matter
Preseason
what,
starts this weekend, I believe.
yeah. So either way, I mean he's gonna play in preseason. I don't know, and I just see videos of people lining up, wanting to get autographs and all that stuff. It's just like, man,
it's a weird time to be a Browns fan.
It is. I mean, it's usually depressing, but I guess maybe it's a little more interesting.
Yeah. Talk about like always make fun of Browns for like the Browns organization. Like they just always seem to drop the ball for their fan base, and it's funny because
no, the Browns
they acquired Deshaun Watson.
The Browns have gotten off scot-free. There's like
zero
zero
blame at all, and they've acquired Deshaun Watson, and so now the Browns fan who's been just losing forever, they're like,
we're gonna win, but like at what cost?
Yeah, we're like, yay. Like, we're going to do well, but it's going to be in a really Browns kind of way.
Browns, it's a weird situation. I think if I was an owner of the NFL, I would just be like, stay away from Deshaun Watson. He's like basically radioactive, played Drew Lock or
the Browns are like, this is our chance.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're shitty for that long, there's a point of desperation that kicks in. So.
But I'm excited for preseason to start. This weekend kicks off.
I think so.
Then we'll have football through February, which is an exciting time
of year. I think season starts like the first or second
week of September.
Second Thursday or something.
Yeah, I believe.
So we're getting close. We've been like really, we've been having withdrawals from like no sports. I mean, we've been watching baseball, and I mean UFC's been fun to watch.
Yeah, been really loving UFC.
Yeah, which is
it's not quite this. It's not quite the same.
It doesn't give you the same kick, no, for sure. It's a good like substitute, but. Well, I mean that was pretty. That was a pretty good episode. First one back, feels good. We should probably when Big Wiener comes back.
Father Member.
Yeah, Father Member. He'll come back and I think tomorrow. So
tomorrow night, maybe. Yeah.
We'd do an episode this weekend with him or something. The three boys.
Yeah, maybe we can watch preseason and do a little.
And give a little spiel. Look at third and fourth string footballers.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That'd be fun. All right, well then we're gonna sign off, and it's good to be back. Hopefully you guys catch all this, and look forward to more on its way.
Go Dads.
Go Dads.